So last week you may remember that I uploaded a video talking about how Game Freak lost their focus and that there will be a second part to the discussion talking about Pokemon Z. This is very clearly that second part, and watching the first half is practically essential to see where I'm coming from. With that being said, Pokemon Z is the theoretical title for a Generation 7 follow-up in the style of Pokemon Crystal, Emerald, Platinum, and later Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, which would have helped add a little bit extra to the Kalos region alongside exploring Zygarde's backstory, who was the third legendary Pokemon that would have featured as the mascot. With additional forms given to Zygarde in Sun and Moon, as well as heavy prominence in the anime, which we do know Game Freak likes to take a lot of inspiration from, there was a lot riding on Pokemon Z to breathe a new life into Kalos, which was missing any sort of follow-up or sequel for the first time in the series' history. Ultra Sun and Moon only reinforced the idea that Z was cancelled, as they had clearly not given up on the idea of having a follow-up to a mainline game. So assuming that this Pokemon Z was real, let's break down why this game might not have ever seen the light of day with as much evidence as we've got. As explained in the last video, Game Freak was a 2-game studio at the time of X and Y's release, showing that they have a B team that helps to aid them alongside their A team. Now, let's start all the way back at 2010. Pokemon X and Y likely began development around this time, considering the average 3-year development cycle for a Pokemon game starting off of a new generation. During this time, Game Freak's B team was likely working on Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire under the helm of Shigeru Omori, which took 2 years of development. This seems to be the standard for Game Freak. Platinum and Heart Gold and Soul Silver took at most 2 years of development from the information that we've been given, and those are with very small teams. Games that already had foundations established by previous games took 2 years of development, which I can only assume was the same with the Hoenn remakes. Following X and Y's completion, Pokemon Z was likely worked on by an unknown director. There are definitely slots open for those that have been in that role before. As established in my previous video, Game Freak's Junichi Masuda often directed a new generation, allowing for other members to follow up on his foundations to inject their own style. From what I can gather, the likely candidate to direct this third version was Shigeki Morimoto. I say this because he had absolutely zero involvement in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire's credits, a first for the series ever since his work back in Pokemon Red and Green. He even helped work on spin-offs such as Pokemon Colosseum and Battle Revolution, so him taking a game off seems weirdly suspicious considering that otherwise perfect track record. Assuming that he wasn't just taking a short break from the series, this gap in his history really makes me think that he helped lead Team A's work on Pokemon Z. This wouldn't be out of the question considering he's directed remakes and follow-ups such as Emerald and the Johto remakes in the past. Assuming that I'm correct, 2013 to 2015 was likely spent by Morimoto leading Team A towards completing Z, where they hit a significant roadblock. The series' 20th anniversary was fast approaching, and Game Freak absolutely needed a new generation to strike when the time was right. Sun and Moon were released in 2016, likely following a 2 to 3 year development period following X and Y. This is what makes me think that Z was either cancelled right here or given to the B team, who had since wrapped up work on Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire in 2014 following its release. Morimoto's credits in Sun and Moon show that he was likely no longer working on Z at the time of its development, which combined with his lack of any work on the Hoenn remakes is very strong evidence pointing towards the idea that he was working on something in development only for it to get cut when Sun and Moon was pushed to the forefront. So assuming Z wasn't cancelled right there and then and given to the B team, it would have been an uphill battle to keep that project afloat. If this is true, Z was likely given to Team B in 2014 or 2015 when Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire had concluded their development cycles. However, Ultra Sun and Moon's release in 2017 implies that it took a little over a year, being followed up on the 2016 originals. This places Ultra's development at around here. You might be asking, well, why isn't the A team working on Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon, but there's a very good reason for that, which is going to be released later this year. I think at around this point Z was practically a dead idea. Sun and Moon took what was remaining of Zygarde and quite literally spread him around Alola, and Generation 6 as a whole was completely out of the spotlight. To make things worse, all hopes of a Z version were dashed upon Pokemon Go's release in 2016. Masuda was no longer working on a project with Omori working on Sun and Moon, so he likely took 2 years to work on Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee to build off of Go's success as part of the B team. We can tell that Pokemon Let's Go was definitely Team B's work, considering that despite being made in parallel with Pokemon Sword and Shield, neither game seems to inspire each other in terms of art style, engine, or even gameplay. With Ultra's development, the spark of Let's Go, and a general disinterest in Kalos, Pokemon Z was likely lost to the sands of time. Again, what I've said has been entirely speculative, but any sort of confirmation on this subject would be amazing, though I doubt we'll get anything definitive for a very long time. To recap, in 2010, Pokemon Black and White releases, and X and Y begin development under Team A, directed by Junichi Masuda. In 2011, the 3DS is released to the world and Pokédex 3D launches, which gives us a look at how far in development X and Y was at that point. In 2012, Black and White 2, directed by Takao Uno, is finished, and Team B then move on to Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, which is directed by Omori. In 2013, X and Y's release, and then Team A begins work on Pokemon Z, led by Shigeki Morimoto. In 2014, Team A shifts Z to Team B as it gears up to crunch down on Sun and Moon before the 20th anniversary, led by Shigeru Omori, who has jumped on it from the Hoenn remix, which released that year. 2015, Pokemon Z is likely scrapped, and its reasoning being Morimoto's departure from Team B to work on Sun and Moon, or Ultra Sun and Moon's development taking up Z's slot, or just plain disinterest in Kalos, allowing Sun and Moon to soak up elements of Zygarde's remains. Finally, in 2016, Pokemon Sun and Moon releases, and then Team A begins the 3-year development cycle for Pokemon Sword and Shield. Team B is midway through Ultra Sun and Moon's development, and it begins development on Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, which runs parallel alongside Sword and Shield's development from Team A. From that point on, Pokemon Z was effectively dead. I just want to make it clear that I love Kalos, and I think that it really kind of deserved anything, but that's not really the point. I think Z was definitely in development, and I think that a lot of it had to do with the constant shifting of directors that I mentioned in my previous video. But yeah, I don't know, it's disappointing, but I'm still happy with what we got. I think Sun and Moon it took a lot of steps forward for the franchise, but I feel like the rush to get it out for the 20th anniversary inadvertently killed any chances of a Pokemon Z, and it's just super unfortunate. I think in this almost kind of trilogy, the next video that I'm going to upload next week will be a video on Sun and Moon's development and the evidence as to why it was so rushed. I think that game had a lot of potential, but it was just completely fucked up by the rush to get it out for the 20th anniversary. So I guess I'll see you guys then. Hopefully I can do one video a week and keep up with everything else in my life. But I'll see you guys then. Take care. Have a good day.